Hi, Sabdullah Samia. So people sometimes ask, if I can explain all the doubts you had in Islam and I can explain them to you, all the problems you found in the Quran, would you become Muslim again? The answer is yes, but rather than talking about the issues I found in the Quran, why don't you tell me, why should I believe the Quran is the word of God? You have the burden of proof to explain to me in the first place, because if anyone comes and says, I'm the messenger of God, I spoke to God, by default you would think this person is lying or crazy or one of, some other mixed situation. Maybe he thinks he's speaking to God, right? Or he might not be completely crazy, but he might have a neurological issue, So the burden of proof is you need to explain. If somebody, says that there's so-and-so, tooth fairies and Santa Claus and whatever, I don't need to disprove to you that Santa Claus is not real. You need to tell me why it's real. That's how the world works. We just don't accept claims just like that. You need to defend your claim. If you're the one coming with a positive claim, you need to explain yourself. Why should I? So this is the best approach to talk to Muslims. Why do you believe the Quran is the word of God? Right away off the bat, if they say it's something personal to them, you say, okay, well, that doesn't apply to me then. It's only for you. You have your own personal reasons for believing the Quran is the word of God. It doesn't help me though. If they say science in the Quran, then I tell them, you know what? I looked into the science in the Quran. It's completely flawed. It does not match reality. And in fact, that's how I left Islam in the first place. It all started with discrepancies between what the Quran was saying and what we've learned in the last 1400 years since the Quran was revealed. And on top of it, to make things worse, the things we find in the Quran are exactly what people would have thought back then. So by default, we're looking at a situation where Muhammad is a man in the desert, who's speaking to his people and telling them, I'm the messenger of God. He's saying things that pretty much reflect what was around him at the time, the understanding. So by default, you would think he's not a messenger of God. So explain to me, how is he a messenger of God? What proof do we have? Supposedly all the other prophets came with miracles, right? They split the seas, Jesus brought people back to life supposedly. Well, what did Muhammad do? Oh, he brought the Quran. Okay, well, let's look at the Quran. What is it about the Quran that's so amazing? The science? Nope, science is flawed. Okay, the linguistic miracle. Okay, let's have a discussion about the linguistic miracle then. How does one determine that something is a linguistic miracle that only God could have said it? What is it about the Quran that's so amazing that nobody else can come up with speech like that? Is there anything amazing about it? And this so-called miracle only applies to the Arabs, to the Arabs people? Non-Arabs, how would they know if it's a miracle or not? Like, what is amazing about it? If I told you Shakespeare or some profound music or some, amazing play or a movie, it had touched my heart and it touched people's hearts, does that mean God did it? Like, if it had that effect? Is it because the Quran is unimitable? Well, people have responded to that claim and came up with other verses like it. The Quran starts with Alif Lam Mim. Some people came up with responses to that, like I can come up with letters too, ba, ba, ba. I mean, I've just made a verse like it. I didn't make a surah like it, but, and on top of it, a surah like it, that response only applies to Arabs again? Like, small percentage of the world's population? What kind of challenge is that? And then who's going to judge the challenge and say, yeah, that's like the Quran? I mean, my friend Hassan Larwan has a surah like it he wrote. Anytime I share that with my Muslim friends, they say, no, it's not like the Quran. Why not? On what basis? On what? Who set the conditions? What objective condition do you have? What objective basis do you have to say this verse is not like that verse? Do you have any basis? You don't have any basis. It's a completely illogical challenge, right? You know what I mean? Like, it's silly. Okay, so what other reasons do you believe the Quran is the word of God? Muhammad's life. Okay, but Muhammad's life has a lot of problems in it. He did a lot of objectionable things, right? He did a lot of objectionable things. For example, putting verses in the Quran about marrying his adopted son's ex-wife, which was more important than, it's so important that God revealed a verse just for that, for all of mankind and humanity to know that it's okay to marry your adopted son's ex-wife. How many people do that? Is that really that important? Or was it that Muhammad loved and fell in love with Zainab? Which one's more likely? You know what I'm saying? So there's so many issues when you look at Muhammad's life, right? Like, so what basis do you believe the Quran is the word of God? Because you need to bring the evidence if you want us to accept it. How else would we know if God is one or God is three or God is infinite? The only way to know is to use our reasoning. And so bring forward your arguments and tell me, why is God one? Why is God not three? Right? Or why is there any God? Personally, I don't think there's any God. But it has to be on the basis of intellect and reasoning. You have to be able to reason through it and explain why the Quran is the word of God. So anytime you talk to someone, the best thing to do, don't start pointing out flaws in the Quran. Ask them, why is the Quran the word of God? Have a discussion and go from there, step by step. Let them tell you why you should believe the Quran is the word of God, and then you can explain why that doesn't make sense. Thanks for watching. Please share these videos with other people that you think will benefit, so we can continue to spread the message of enlightenment and reason and get away from living in a world full of dogma and false belief and idolatry. Take care. Bye.